Hello and welcome back to part 4 of decks that will be leaving my house in an expedited manner. I am going to definitely be going on to a part 5 because I have gotten rid of even more decks, and I'm really trying to think about what's important to me when collecting a deck, why I'm using the deck, the imagery, the symbology, like all of the important stuff that's in the deck really has to resonate with me in order for me to want to keep it in my collection. So there have been a few more that I've pulled out because I know the reality is I am probably not going to be using them. So if you've seen my other video, this is not going to come, or my other video about the Darkwood and the Spellcaster's Tarot, this isn't going to come as a shock to anybody. The card quality in this is actually a little bit better than the Spellcasters, but I'm honestly letting go of this one simply because the artwork just doesn't really do it for me. If I were to see this artwork in a graphic novel, I would think it's amazing. But for me personally, it's just not working in a tarot deck. This isn't my style of deck. When I first purchased it, I think I first purchased it when close to about when it came out. I was really drawn to the illustrations, but I just never used it. This is pretty much a brand new deck. It's a gorgeous book, but again, we're not using the book, we're using the cards. And it's what you expect from a Llewellyn deck. I'm not going to say much more than that. I promise. I think what happens for me here is the cards feel a little bit flat. There's not much contrast. There's not much depth. The illustrations just don't really seem very suited for the cards. They seem more suited for, like I said, perhaps a graphic novel or a comic book. But the artwork is gorgeous. This has nothing to do with the illustrations or the beauty of the artwork, but it has everything to do with just it's not hitting for me. And I have seen some amazing people read with this deck. I have seen this deck be beloved by many people. So it may work for you. I'm just letting you know why I'm letting go of it. Particularly, whatever. This is why I'm letting go of it. I like a lot of symbolism. I learned the Rider-Waite-Smith system, so a lot of this, I think some of the cards work better than others. I definitely think some of the cards work better than others. I don't know. Sorry, I'm like thinking and talking and like looking at the deck at the same time because I really did want to like this deck. Like I love this. This card is beautiful to me. It's very simple. It feels very much like the Hermit, and the contrast, the light in it is really nice. But here it feels like there's lack of separation between the character and the background. And with how gorgeous these illustrations are, I would really love to see just a little bit more pop, a little bit more contrast, a little bit more saturation perhaps between the characters and the foreground. Like I love this Fool. It's a great Fool. The Empress is okay. Hangman, Strength. I love that. I love this concept of strength. I think that's a great concept for strength. Seven of Wands, Moon, Ace of Cups. I do love me a crow. Two of Wands. It's beautiful. The Star is beautiful in this deck as well. I love that there's bats. I also am a fan of bats. Not in my house, but outside. I think they're really cool. You can always, at least where I live, when the sun starts setting, you start seeing them like fluttering outside of the trees, and sometimes you can hear them too. So that's the Darkwood Tarot. That's why I'm getting rid of it. Like I said, I think a lot of people love this deck. It really is a beloved deck by many. It's just not my personal deck that I like to work with, or the type of deck that I like to work with anymore. So or I like to work. Hold on, let me start that again. This isn't the type of deck that really resonates with me. And I think when I did first purchase this, I was trying to really find my groove in the tarot world. And now that I found it, this isn't the type of deck. So that's what I was trying to say. Okay, moving on. Okay, so confession time. This is a brand new deck, and I haven't even used it. I think I shuffled it and I quickly looked through some of the photos, but the problem is when I ordered this, well, I ordered it because I love my pulp tarot. I thought this was a really cool, similar type of deck, but when I got it, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I do like it, and if it didn't have the keywords on them, I would have definitely kept it and used it. So I love my pulp tarot, but this has keywords, and I don't like my decks having keywords on them. So I am not keeping this. But these are the backs, decent card quality. They're really fun. And, you know, a lot of people like to try to learn tarot using keywords, and that's a perfectly fine, acceptable way to do it. And sorry, this is the Retro Poster Tarot by Hattie Thorne. Anyway, back to the cards. So some people like to try to learn utilizing the keywords. I am still a very firm believer in picking a system and starting with it and then moving on. So, you know, if this is your way of trying to learn tarot, then this is going to probably be a great deck for you. I will say it's lacking in a lot of symbolism. So it's a very basic kind of, I don't want to say generic tarot. It's just, it's lacking in symbolism. We'll just leave it at that. So you're not going to be able to get quite as deep with this deck if you're learning as you may otherwise. But yeah, I mean, they're kind of cool. I love the colors. I love the artwork. It's a great concept. I do think the pulp tarot is more effective than this, unfortunately. But it's a great deck. And while we're on the subject of keywords, if you go to a reader, and I have seen this all over TikTok, if you're going to a reader and they're charging you, okay, now they're not charging you, whatever, but if they're charging you for a reading and they're using tarot decks that have keywords on them, I would venture to say that they are not somebody who is really ready to be doing professional readings. Same thing if, you know, they're using oracle cards and they're reading the message from the book. Because if they're doing that, why are you paying them to read to you from the book? Why don't you just take that $20 and go buy yourself a deck and have all the free readings that you want? So I just wanted to kind of throw that in there while I'm thinking about it. Like, this can be a great way to learn. If somebody wants to practice and they're using a deck with keywords, have at it. But if somebody is actually charging you for a reading and they're using keywords on their cards, I think you might want to find a different reader. But it's a perfectly fine deck. It's perfectly fine. If you want a deck with keywords, this is really fun, for sure. So that is the Retro Poster Tarot, and that is why it is leaving my possession. I do think I probably would have used this if it wasn't for the keywords. And I did not see the keywords because I looked at the overall image and I didn't look closely at the card. So next, The Sacred Forest Oracle by Denise Linn. I have a deck by Denise Linn. I think it's Sacred Destiny, which I love. I love. So I saw this Oracle deck and I looked at the back and I was like, I kind of like it. All right, it's kind of whimsical. I'm not really a whimsy person. And I don't know why I always try to get things that are whimsical thinking I'm going to like it. And then I'm like, I just don't jive with it. Like, I'm not resonating with it because I'm just not a whimsical person. I shouldn't say that because this, what is it? The Tarot of Mystical Moments is like one of my favorite decks, but it's very, it's whimsical in a different way. I don't know. So like Storm Spirit, Chaos, Spirit Guardian of Winter is Retreat, Thicket of Thorns, Uncertainty. I just wasn't, it's just a little too, I don't, what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody who can't answer me back right now as I'm recording this video. What's the word I'm looking for? Trite? No. I'm just going to leave it at whimsical. It just feels a little whimsical for me, like a little too whimsical. And I don't feel that the digital collaging in here is as well done as it was in the Sacred Destiny Oracle. I feel like it's a little bit sloppier. I used to be a photographer for 20 plus years, and I used to do some Photoshop work. I used to do some collage stuff for a wedding photographer that I worked for. And I can see that some of these cards, not all of them, but some of them have been done a little bit more sloppy. And there's not as much of a transition or a softness to the edges. Like you can tell it's kind of been cut out and like slapped on. So that bothers me too. I do love this card. I love white herons. I love herons. They're my favorite birds. I don't know. It just does, they don't feel as, it feels rushed. That's what it feels like to me. It feels rushed. But I can see people not minding that. This is just my trained eye, and I have an issue like separating that. I can see somebody really enjoying this deck. I think it's a good, like if you wanted to do daily pulls for yourself, I think it's a good like personal growth kind of oracle deck. I also don't have a real use for it in my personal practice. So that's another reason that I'm letting it go. And I have the Sacred Destiny, which is one of my favorite all-time oracle decks. And that is one that I will be keeping. Moving on. The Tarot of Oppositions by Pierluca Zizi and Michelle de Aloisio. I don't know. Anyway, this is, I believe, a Los Scarabeo deck in a nice box. I really love the concept of this. I did use this deck a few times. I don't use it anymore at all. So I'm not keeping it. But I like the concept. So it's a very thick cardstock. And the idea behind it is you have the upright and the reversed, but you know they're both upright. So however you've my goodness, however you shuffle the deck, you're always going to get a card that's upright, but you'll have the, I guess, the more positive meaning of the card and the more negative meaning of the card. So it really is an interesting concept. It's a really great concept. I no longer read reversals because the way that I read when I use a spread, the spread position can tell me how I need to read into the card or my intuition, whatever it is, but I don't use reversals anymore. So this deck is no longer in my collection. I mean, it is in my collection for now, but it will be leaving my collection, my overall collection. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I need caffeine. I think that's the problem. So here, this is the upright high priestess, and here is the reversed. And here it feels like she's bound. I don't think she is, but it feels more like she's kind of bound to her position. Like she can't go anywhere. And here the Eight of Swords were restrained, but here we have escaped. So I think conceptually it's great. I just haven't used it in literally years. So it's going to leave. Tarot of Oppositions. The Oracle of the Seven Energies by Colette Baron Reed. She is a pretty popular oracle. deck creator. I believe she's also done the Good Tarot, which I have in my It Might Leave My House, but it's not quite yet box. So nice book. Again, it's another card that is far too whimsical for me. Now here, the artwork is really beautiful, and that's what drew me into it, but I'm just not like Divine Matrix. It's too new agey for me. And not that I don't want that to sound bad. I'm just not into new age spirituality, I should say. And this feels a little bit more new age spirituality to me. So if you are into new age spirituality, this may be a beautiful deck for you. The artwork really is gorgeous. It's whimsical, but it's vivid and bright and colorful. I love the feeling of the cards. They're matte, but I like how it feels. I don't know if some people will or not, but I like when a card is matte finished like that. That's beautiful. As you can see, words, Julie. Okay, so you can see it's a very, very pretty deck. It's got like really uplifting kind of energy to it. It's definitely good for inner work. So I can't really say much about it because I didn't, like, I love this card. That's so beautiful. I love pelicans. I just haven't really used it. I didn't do much with it. I got it in my hands and I was like, maybe I'll use it another time. Maybe I'll use it another time. And then it eventually got put in the box in the basement. And I'm now clearing out the boxes in the basement. So the Oracle of the Seven Energies shall be leaving my home. The influence of the angels. I originally was not going to let go of this deck. This was, I think, the very first deck I reviewed on here. I do like this deck, but here's the thing. I don't work with angels. I would like to learn more, maybe one day, but this isn't the direction I'm going in. And I feel to best utilize this deck, knowledge of or a desire to learn more about the angels is going to be what draws you to this deck. And that is not for me. But I do love this deck. So you can use it even without the angels. It follows the Rider-Waite-Smith. But here, it tells you the symbols, the moon, water, creatures in the water. It tells you about, what I like about this is this actually explains the symbolism in the cards, which is really nice because some guidebooks don't do that and they don't take the time to do that. It tells you what angel it is, gives you the direct meaning, the shadow meaning, and then the angelic message. So this is a really information-packed guidebook for the size. And if you want to actually see more, like a deep dive into this deck, you can watch the other video. But they're beautiful cards, and you can not look at the angels and definitely read the Rider-Waite-Smith meanings into it. But I think it was really well done. And like I said, I really like it. I'm just not going to be using it. And I think it's going to be best utilized by somebody who has a desire to work with angels or is working with angels currently. This moon card is beautiful, right? She's unearthing her demons. It's a great hermit card. It's really, look at the sun. It's really well done, I have to say. It is really, really well done. It's not a cheesy angel deck. This King of Pentacles, I really like the angels here in the corner because there's something very, with the look on his face, he feels very stern. He's holding his coin close to his chest. He feels a little greedy. It feels like he might give something if he's forced to. And these angels, it feels like they're kind of looking down on him, sort of being like, what are you doing? Stop being so selfish. It's kind of what I feel from it. I like that card. I like the way that the angels are used in that. And I'm sure if it tells you what angels it is, there's even more meaning and nuance to the card than there already is. So I'm not going to go too much further into this, but this, if you want to see more, I did a deep dive. I guess it's called a deep dive into this deck. But it's very well done. I really like it. I really like it. I'm sorry, I keep saying I really like it. I have really good words sometimes. I just don't seem to have them when I start recording myself on camera. I swear. The Carolyn Miss Archetype Cards. Now, I love this deck. I used this deck. But I use my Archeo deck by Nick Van Talk when I have to use an archetype deck. That's the deck I've studied. I've used it many, many times. I'm very familiar with it. I'm very accustomed with it. And that's usually what I will go to when I'm doing a reading. And here's why. Now, this deck has, I think it's like 80, might be 80 cards. 74. There's 74 cards here. So there's an even bigger selection than the Archeo deck. But it has the attributes written right on the card. And there's nothing wrong with that. Really, truly, there's nothing wrong with it. But for me, when I'm using archetype cards, when I'm using oracle cards, I'm reading, I always read intuitively. I always use my intuition. But there's something about oracle cards because it's sort of, there's no system to it, that it gives you much more liberty to read intuitively. And I feel like I would like to see more of the picture and less of the words. But this doesn't bother some people. It's for me, it kind of stops me because I keep getting drawn to the words instead of the picture where I want to be looking and having my eye move around in it. But I think it's really well done. I like, the archetypes. I like how they do the light attributes and the shadow attributes, depending on what you're picking up, what you're reading. The imagery is really pretty. Like I said, I just wish I could see the images bigger than they are. I like using this deck when I'm trying to gain more information about somebody or an energy that somebody may be needing to bring into their life, or perhaps an energy they need to release, or if I'm trying to even just gain some information about the querent when I'm doing a reading for somebody, I like to pull one of these cards, and it's kind of gives me a starting point to do my readings. And that's kind of how I would use these. But they really are nice cards, and I hope somebody sees these. Oh, and then there's blank cards, 6 blank cards, so you can create your own too, which I think is really nice. And if you use like dry erase markers, you can use them over and over again, because I think this type of material you'd be able to like squeegee it off, clean it off, really is what I'm trying to say. Use your words. Okay, sorry. So this is the Carolyn Miss Archetype deck, and I hope somebody likes this and they're like, oh, I really want to get that deck now, because it's really fun watching it being used. So, all right, one last deck and then we're done. All right, this is Dreamy Moons Tarot by Annie Tarasova. And initially, I was not going to get rid of this, but as you can see, I use this a lot. So I have used this deck quite a bit. I don't know why I don't like it anymore. I think I had my time with it, and then my time was up and I moved on. I believe it's the wands or the swords got changed to crystals. Give me a second. I'll be able to tell you. Stars are pentacles. These are the wands. So the swords got changed to crystals. So do with that as you will. I don't like that necessarily. So again, this has a little bit more of a new age feel than I like. So somebody who is more into New Age may really, really love this deck. I am not that into New Age. I think it's easy to read. It's Rider-Waite-Smith, follows it beautifully. So if you know your Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you are going to have absolutely no issue reading this. To me, this looks like a giant blunt that she's carrying because of the lack of detail in there. So that's kind of funny. It it reminds me of History of the World Part 2, where they were smoking them out and they lit that giant joint. That's kind of what that reminds me of. Anyway. So here's the cards. I mean, it's pretty. And then there's an additional card. There might be 2 additional cards. I'm not sure. I don't recall. I can't find my book for this one either. So, you know, people like this deck a lot. I've seen people, again, do great readings with it. I don't connect with it anymore. I did. It had and served its time in my collection. Oh, the self. It's a mirror. Yeah, you know. It's, yeah. Anyway. Served its time, and it is time for us to say goodbye with love. So that is the Dreamy Moons Tarot, and that is why I am not keeping it in my collection. So thank you for watching part 4 of my deck decluttering, and I will try to come back with part 5 soon, and hopefully that'll be the last part. It probably won't be, but it will be for a while. Okay.